The Bible is a living word that reads us as we read it. It's a person, a voice that proves that time is not linear, as one sentence can confirm the past, guide the present, and declare the future. You are here. I am here. He is here. We are here. Right now, in the tomorrow of yesterday and in the yesterday of tomorrow, I thank you for joining today. So we're back. Thank you so much for joining once again. In our last episode, we talked about a few different turn of events. Abner, offended by Ishbosheth, left Team Ish to join Team David. He ended up heading David's campaign for rulership over the United Kingdoms of Judah and Israel, which was a big deal. Abner had been rocking it with the house of Saul for years now. He was right by Saul's side during the time that Saul was actually hunting David. So it was major for Abner, who had a lot of pull in the community, to switch sides and to join Team David. Joab, who was harboring a lot of bitterness in his heart, could not care less about Abner. He didn't care about what a great alliance it would be. He didn't care about his pull in the community. He didn't care that Abner and David made peace. Joab wasn't hearing it. Joab avenged his little brother's death and assassinated Abner. This was devastating for David. Joab's bitterness was a very ill calculated move, and it could have been to the detriment of everything that David was working for, especially if the people believed that David had anything to do with Joab offing Abner. By God's grace, David's reputation spoke for itself. His grief spoke for itself. He made it very clear to all of the people he had nothing to do with Abner's death. And the people believed him. They respected him. They had deep admiration for David and did not hold him accountable. On the other side, Ishbosheth lost his right hand man, who was at one point Abner. But in addition to losing Abner, he also lost courage, which makes sense because Abner was holding it all together for him. One day, Ishbosheth decided to take a nap, and he never even had a chance to regret that decision. These two guys who were a part of his raiding party decided to pay him a little visit, and they offed him in his sleep. With an empty throne and no one to accuse them of treason, all of the people gathered together and they crowned David king. The first order of business for David was to go to Jerusalem and to pay the Jebusites a visit. Jerusalem was a town that was in neutral territory. It bordered the tribe of Benjamin, which Saul was from, and the tribe of Judah, where David was from. And it was really important to David for him to acquire that land because he did not want the people to think that he had an allegiance to one place more than the other. And Jerusalem just so perfectly fit right there in between. Now, I'm not sure if you recall from the episode Knocked Upside the Head. After David defeated the Philistine giant Goliath, he actually chopped the head of Goliath and he took it to Jerusalem. It was very peculiar that he did that because at the time, Jerusalem was not yet fully acquired by the Israelites. It wasn't officially a part of the Israelites' territory. David led his men to Jerusalem to fight against the Jebusites. The Jebusites had a lot of talk. They knew how to bump their gums. Their bark was big. David and his men, they had a bigger bite. So the Jebusites, when they saw David and his men, they're like, man, I don't even know why y'all are here. You wasting your time because you never gonna get in here. Even the blind and the cripple could keep you out. They are straight dissing David and his men. Mind you, he rocked with some warriors. These men were mighty. They were fierce. They were not to be played with. David's like, bet whoever attacks the Jebusites first will become the commander of my armies. Now, you'll have to go and read 2 Samuel chapter 5, 1 Chronicles chapter 11 to get all of the details. And I really encourage you to do that because I'm not trying to feed you. I just want to supplement what you're already eating. So definitely go get the deeds. But until you do, who do you think was the first to attack? That's right, your boy Joab. Now, believe it or not, Joab was not the strongest. He wasn't the mightiest. He wasn't even the most skilled of all the warriors that rock with David. However, he was the first to step up. He took advantage of that opportunity, and as a result, he was placed in the leadership position. Needless to say, David and his men beat the Jebusites. They captured the fortress of Zion, which was called the City of David, and Jerusalem became the capital of the United Kingdoms of both Judah and Israel. The Lord was with David. That is something we have seen consistently throughout this journey. And I know it's been a long journey, but I do assure you that we are going to get past David. That's why I'm skipping a lot, believe it or not. With the Lord being with David, David became even more powerful. His influence expanded, his family grew. He honored the Lord, and he made the very conscious decision to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem to normalize the culture of worship. That was something that got lost over the years. A quick recap in case you don't recall: the Ark of the Covenant was a piece of furniture that the Lord instructed Moses to have built. This ark, which was more or less a box, it was placed in the tent of meetings or in the tabernacle, and the glory of God would descend upon it. In many ways, the Ark of the Covenant symbolized the essence of the glory of God. It symbolized his presence, his power, his provision. Some years prior, the Ark of the Covenant fell into the hands of the Philistines. The Philistines learned the hard way that the God of the Israelites is not for play. They quickly regretted dishonoring God. The Philistines devised a plan to return the Ark of the Covenant to the Israelites because when it was in their possession, the Lord wreaked havoc upon them. So they were like, yo, we got to get this back where it belongs. Unfortunately, when it was back into the hands of the Israelites, a group of men also needed a refresher course in respect. They ended up letting curiosity get the best of them. They looked inside of the Ark of the Covenant, which was disrespectful. It was dishonoring because there were very strict instructions as to who could even handle the Ark of the Covenant. That was a mistake. As a result of their curiosity and their blatant disrespect for the things that were holy, they ended up losing their lives. Their death stirred up a lot of fear amongst the Israelites. Rather than them seeking God for how to properly respect him, how to honor him and the things that he set apart, they actually developed an outright fear of the Ark of the Covenant, and they just let it stay with a man named Abinadab. Now that David has taken the throne, he's settling in his new home, and he is prioritizing in his heart worship and the proper form of worshiping the Lord. David decided that he wanted to bring the Ark of the Covenant from Abinadab's home to the capital city of Jerusalem because it was important to him that Jerusalem not only be recognized as the political capital, but also the spiritual capital of the nation. Now, David's heart was in the right place. He set out to do the right thing, but he set out to do the right thing the wrong way. He didn't consult the Lord for instruction first. They placed the Ark of the Covenant on a cart pulled by cattle. And as it's being pulled on this cart, the cattle stumbled, causing the Ark of the Covenant to slide. And one of the men, Uzzah, reached out to catch the Ark of the Covenant. And when he did so, he ended up being struck right away with death. Once again, the Lord was showing that the things that are holy and set apart are not to be treated as though they are common. The instruction that was given when the Ark of the Covenant was designed was that the Ark was to be carried on the shoulders of the Levites. It was never intended to be pulled on a cart. It's very easy to forget about the weight of the glory lest you carry it. And this was one way that God was reminding the people of the significance of carrying it and not just throwing it on a cart and letting some cow or ox pull it. After Uzzah died as a result of reaching out to catch the Ark of the Covenant, David was in his feelings. He really felt some type of way about it, and he didn't want any dealings with it at the time. The Ark of the Covenant ended up being placed in the home of a man named Obed-Edom. The Lord blessed this man, and he prospered for the entire 3 months that he hosted the Ark of the Covenant. When David got word of how blessed Obed-Edom was, David decided, okay, it's doable. David sought the Lord for guidance and was able to successfully move the Ark of the Covenant the right way this time. And he placed it inside of the tent. There was a huge celebration amongst the community when the Ark of the Covenant was placed in the tent, when it was back home amongst them. And though David had a little bit of drama with his wife, and you can read about that, for the most part, David experienced something for the first time in a long time. Rest. I'm not just talking about a good night of sleep. I'm talking about rest. He didn't have anyone chasing him. He wasn't being hunted. He had rest from all of his surrounding enemies. The kingdom was united. He established a culture of worship. The Lord favored him on his conquest. There was order, there was peace. However, there was still an unsettling in David's heart. One day, David sent for a prophet named Nathan. He was the successor to Samuel. He had a heart to heart with Nathan. Look, man, look at all of this. Look at how I'm living, man. I imagine that Nathan was looking all around and just kind of nodding, like, yeah. Very nice. Very, very nice. David continued, yo, I was hiding in a cave. Now I have a whole city named after me, man. It's nice. I'm grateful, but it's not right. Nathan's like, wait, what? Yeah, man, it's not right for me to have such a nice pad while the Ark of the Covenant is sitting out there in a tent. Nathan finally caught on. He's like, oh, I see. Well, listen, the Lord is with you. Whatever you have in mind to do, go ahead and do it. David had it in his heart to build a house, a temple, to host the presence of God. It was customary for kings to do so for their deity. However, Nathan later received a word from the Lord and had to go back to David. Hey, King, remember when I said that the Lord is with you and whatever you have in your mind, go ahead and do it? What I meant to say was, don't do that. I heard from the Lord, and the truth is, he's not tripping about having a house built. In all of his journeying with his chosen people, from Egypt all the way to here, he has never, not once, never asked, why haven't you built me a house of cedar? That's not even his concern. Nathan went on to share the word of the Lord with David, which in summary explained that while David was thinking about building a physical house for the Lord was more focused on building a house or a lasting dynasty for David. The Lord said, and I'm reading this directly from the Message translation, when your life is complete and you're buried with your ancestors, then I'll raise up your child, your own flesh and blood, to succeed you. I'll firmly establish his rule. He will build a house to honor me, and I will guarantee his kingdom's rule permanently. I will be a father to him, and he'll be a son to me. When he does wrong, I'll discipline him in the usual ways, the pitfalls and obstacles of this moral life. I'll never remove my gracious love from him as I have removed it from Saul, who preceded you, and whom I most certainly did remove. Your family and your kingdom are permanently secured. I'm keeping my eye on them, and your royal throne will always be there, rock solid. Whoa, right? Imagine hearing something like that from the Lord. The Lord basically saying, I got you. You don't even have to sweat it anymore. Your dynasty is good. You will always have a descendant, somebody that is from your bloodline that is going to sit on this throne. Can you imagine that? The message that the Lord gave to David through Nathan the prophet was timeless. And though it spoke about David's son, his actual son, it spoke far beyond David's son. It pointed toward an eternal kingdom through Jesus Christ. And to kind of get ahead of myself a bit, this is why Jesus Christ in the New Testament is sometimes referred to as the Son of David. David was deeply humbled. He was moved. He was in his feelings. He was emotional. He really didn't even know where to store such a blessing. Like, where do you file away such a promise from God? David lost himself in prayer and in worship. Continuing on, though, he ended up conquering the Philistine town of Gath. He also conquered the Moabites and he put a lot of pressure on the Ammonites as well. David was a pretty solid guy. He demonstrated his noble character every opportunity that he got. He wanted to honor his covenant friendship with Jonathan. So one day he reached out, are there any survivors from the house of Saul? And he ended up being introduced to Mephibosheth, who was the son of Jonathan. And he showed Mephibosheth a lot of love. You definitely need to read the details of that story as well. It's a really good one. David, great guy, noble character, showing love to people he really didn't even have to show love to. He's amazing, very admirable. The people love him. Mind you, the moment that David was promised a lasting dynasty that pointed to Jesus Christ, the Messiah, there was a target on his back in the spiritual realm. Right at the time when one would look at David and think that he could do no wrong, we get a front row seat to his infallibility in a major way. He is very much human. He is very much flesh. He loves the Lord, but he's not perfect, I guarantee you. I'm actually really excited to share the deets of how David's body told him yes when it should have been telling him no, okay? We'll talk more about that in our next episode if the Lord blesses me to record another one. But until then, thank you so much for your support. I deeply appreciate you. Until next time, bye for now.